In this video, we'll talk about how you can upload a CAD file to a 3D printing agency for production. In 3D printing agencies, they have hundreds of 3D printers that are working round the clock to fabricate all sorts of projects. And so far, I've used Shapeways, and I've been pleased with their work. But there are other companies you could check out, like Sculptio or Xometry. And here are some of the forms that I've been sending out to Shapeways for production. I wanted to make these radiolarian forms that are based on the late Ernst Haeckel's research. These forms would be really difficult to create with the kinds of 3D printers that I have access to here at Bucknell, because they would require a lot of support material that would be very tedious to clean up. And what I mean by this is that the 3D printers I have access to all work from the bottom up. So any place where there's an overhang in the geometry, the printer has to add support material to keep the upper layers from slumping. And when the print is finished, all that support material has to be removed with pliers and screwdrivers and knives. And then the surface has to be sanded down to remove the residual lumps that are there. So when you're printing a form with a lot of fine detail, the cleanup can take a lot of time. And here's a close-up of one of the forms I sculpted just so that you can better see the detail. So it would be very tedious to remove all the little bits of support material from this form's nooks and crannies. And one way around this issue is to use a printer that has two extrusion heads, and then you can print the support material in a dissolvable material. And just by putting it underwater for a while, you can get rid of the support. But because I don't have access to that kind of printer, I thought it would be better to send my projects out to, excuse me, to Shapeways, where they could use a selective laser sintering process to make the forms. So this video shows some metal parts that are being created with this kind of SLS process. So basically the way it works is it lays down a bed of powder. The powder is shot with a laser to heat it up and fuse it. And then more powder is sprinkled, and then that next layer is shot with the laser to fuse it to what's below. And the powder serves as the support material for everything that comes above. And let's see, how do I advance the slide now? Here we go. And then at the end, has it skipped forward? Oh, there we go. At the end, you can just brush away the powder, and there's no support material. So it's a really great way of building metal parts, especially. Skip forward. Okay, so I had Shapeways make these forms for me in white plastic and steel. You can see that the details came out very well, and for some of the more durable parts, they were able to send them through a polishing process as well. And it is very important when you're getting ready to send something out to a 3D printing agency that you carefully check the guidelines that they have for the particular material that you're going to work with. You'll see that there are variations in the kind of wall thickness that is allowed, or they might have specifications for what they call wires, which are defined differently than walls. So just make sure that you check out those guidelines. And then once you know what the guidelines are, what you'll do is just scale up your part or scale down your part on the computer to be the desired size that you want it to be in real life. And then to check the wall thickness in Mesh Mixer, what I did was I just used, under analysis, there's a button for checking the thickness. And the cool thing about using the thickness command is you can set the minimum thickness that is allowed in the dialog box, and then there's a button to bake the colors on exit. And so what that does is it actually will recolor the vertices to be red any place where it's too thin. And then you can go through with sculpting brushes and inflate any of the areas that are too thin. And then you just repeat that process until you clear up all the errors. And once you're finished with all of your preparatory work, then you can upload the CAD file to Shapeways, and it'll tell you up front what it'll cost to have your part made in different kinds of materials. So you see, in addition to seeing the price for steel, it even lists the price for printing it out in solid gold. And do I read that correctly? I think it's 7 million. Oh, I'm sorry, 7,500 to have it printed in gold. But maybe one of these days I'll look into that. They have a really wide range of different materials that you could choose from based on your technical and aesthetic needs. So in conclusion, sending your designs out to a 3D printing agency for production can be a really good option. And while the cost is greater with a printing agency than if you were to print it on your own 3D printer, it is very convenient and you can print in an array of different materials. And SLS methods save you from the time-consuming work of having to remove and sand down support material.